restart.
So as it stands right now, James Courtney against Jamie Whincup. The difference is 74 points, provisional. Remember, that's how it stands right now. That'll change if Courtney has to come in again. That'll change if the positions start to change on the track.
That'll be redundant in about 2 minutes. It's all going to change. It's going to keep on changing. Yeah, well, James is going to get to about lap 51 on this fuel load. Jamie Whincup, it depends on the impact of the safety car here as we go for the restart. Jamie's going to get to about 57 or 60. Remember that Courtney's got a little track advantage over him at the moment, but he'll lose some of that because the longer he runs out for 51 to the bottom of this fuel load, the greater time he has to stand still to bring the fuel back up to the top, which will put he and Jamie back almost trading punches again, subject to all this stuff.
Oh, Whincup has been the master of the restarts today, and he's done it again. He's rounded up Alex Davison in a flash and gone by him, and now his next target is James Courtney.
Yeah, so can I just say again that it's one stop remaining for the 3 championship contenders, but they're in different phases with how long they'll have to remain stationary to grab their fuel to get them home. But one stop for Courtney, one stop for Whincup, one stop for Winterbottom. Courtney will stand still for longer. But it's really, really tight, and all these little sums evolve constantly. You know, it's not impossible that we don't get weather yet, by the way.
For another safety car. On the inside, Greg Murphy.
Good pass.
Good job. Great job.
And he was just on the radio in the break talking about poor brake retardation and bad stability in the car, but looked pretty good then, didn't it? He made it work very well.
So Murphy goes up to 8th. Jason Bright's holding down that top 10 position after starting from pit lane.
Very good restart, Jamie Whincup. He was straight away onto Alex Davison. And up into turn 2 was a really good pass. We've seen a couple of his passing manoeuvres there today. Now Craig Lowndes puts some pressure on Davison. Right behind him is Mark Winterbottom, then Russell Ingall, then Jason Bright, and then Greg Murphy, who we saw pass Fabian Coulthard just a couple of minutes ago.
The other fellow that you've got to factor into all this, but he's not in the championship, but he's in the motor race, is Lee Holdsworth. Now, isn't this fantastic? You've got Courtney leading by 1.3 seconds over Whincup. So, despite the complications, despite the ups and downs of them dealing with traffic and a wild race, here they are at the top.
And if Winterbottom wants to put any pressure on these guys, he's going to have to get around Craig Lowndes. So Whincup's got a bit of cover back in the field.
Oh, and I just openly speculated only 2 or 3 minutes ago that it's got darker outside. And I said, don't discount weather, and you said, don't discount safety cars. Often they're locked together, but that is a rain shower over Parramatta. And water on the lens on the chopper there. So if that happens, stand back. I mean, good luck trying to unravel it.
This is pretty lively stuff, mid-pack.
So let's have a look at lap speed. This is important. 130.0 for James. 130.1 for Jamie Whincup. Alex Davison, defensive line down the inside into turn 1 with Lowndes going the long way.
Winterbottom has a look on the inside. I reckon he rubbed there.
Bit of contact
with Lowndes. Bright and Ingall are having a juicy battle further back.
And Mark probably didn't need to do that because he would have got up the inside at the next corner because Craig was doing the crisscross. And if Mark followed him, he had a chance to get Alex Davison also. So the little bump that he gave Lowndes has basically positioned them in those 2 spots.
Race control, bad sportsmanship flag for Alex Davison for blocking in the Irwin Tools entry car 4. They'll show him that at the start-finish line next time round. So Alex is permitted 1 move to cover, but he's not allowed to make a secondary move to block off any passing opportunity.
Interesting little battle group, this one at the end of the season that we've been looking at. Jason Bright coming down in the trading post entry. That sponsorship is going elsewhere. Russell Ingall's seat is secure. Greg Murphy's on the move. Will Davison's on the move. Oh, games are plenty on the Zinger replay. 2 young guns going right at it. This is Van Gisbergen and Slade gets the wall.
Well, wide of the race line on the dirty stuff, there's no way he's going to be able to get the thing to do what he needs to do. Now remember, Mark gave some remarks earlier in the telecast about the 3 litres a lap, 75-litre tank, effectively, and so you're going to get 25 laps out of it. We've got a 1.5 second margin near enough between Courtney and Whincup.
How was their last lap? 29.86 to a 29.87.
Remarkable pressure between them, isn't it?
It's very intense. 1/100th of a second. Slade in pit lane after that contact with the wall at turn 5. See the nasty marks against the fence down there. Very fast section of road, one of the best corners on the track. Lowndes now bottled up behind Alex Davison. Mark Winterbottom right in behind him. This is turn 8.
So they're saying to James right now, it tallies with our calculations. Scott Sinclair saying there's 11 laps in this stint for you now. That gets into lap 51.
So again, just to reiterate that, lap 51 for Courtney to come in. Between 57 and 60, depending on safety cars, etc. for Jamie Whincup. Whincup will be able to effectively stop for less time. So this will be a benefit to Whincup as we get into the middle of this race.
So Courtney's got all the pressure riding on him. His team will have the pressure as well up and down pit lane when those pit stops come into play.
Yeah, and we were...
There you go, look at that.
In the break, we saw some wild moments under brakes for Mark Winterbottom. So the weather is an issue, the wipers are on. And this gets even more complex, more of a nail biter, more at stake.
Look at this.
That's what we saw. We were looking on board in the break, and Winterbottom barely pulled it up down at turn 2, 3, 4 as they stand the wets by. The Dunlop Groove wet weather tyre. Jason Bright's come into the pit. Courtney, there's the margin. And it's a 1:31.1 for Courtney, so immediately the times have drifted. 1:30.7 for Whincup, 1.69 seconds first to second.
And remember, for the championship, the 2 lead guys in the series are the 2 pioneers. They're out by themselves. They're the first cars to arrive in slippery conditions.
Now, the other thing we've been talking about...
That's wet.
Yeah, it is. It's bad out there on a slick tyre in those conditions. Look at this. Oh, Courtney nearly clobbers the tyres. Don't forget that Whincup on his strategy can come in earlier. He's got flexibility. Courtney doesn't have flexibility at the moment. He's going to get to about lap 51, and he's got to get to 51 to fill it up to get it home.
It's pouring. It's absolutely pouring out. By mentioning pioneers, these guys are the men most likely to hit the wall first. That's what you're saying. There's no dry line for these guys.
You think we're getting very close,
They've all got to get to 51 to get the fuel on to get home.
But you can't live out there like that.
That's what they're fighting at the moment. They're crunching numbers in the garages going, they want them to try and stay out there. This is what I'm getting at. So what they're going to try and ask the drivers to do is get them into the next fuel window. And that's hard.
Well, it's okay on that end of the track. At the track end, Dawn Fraser Avenue, we just saw it. It's only sprinkling in this bit. But down at the other end of the track, at the bottom of Australia Avenue, down to Olympic Boulevard, it is soaked.
And what makes it even harder for the engineers is that if there is genuine wet out there and the pace comes off Scapey, it changes the fuel window. So we're saying you've got to get to 51.
Okay, headlights on. Traffic in front of you. Just be careful through that wet sector.
They're saying that, you know, to get enough fuel on to get you home to lap 75, you need to come in from 51. But if you end up in a situation with a wet enough track, that might come back to 50 or even 49, and we're on lap 45. So they're going to do everything they can to encourage these guys in particular who've got most at risk. If I was back in the field, I'd come in and play the game.
These guys have to stay out there.
But these guys are going to have to tough it out. Oh, no, Courtney, big understeer. Whincup made massive ground then.
And the only thing that they can take comfort in is that they're both in the same boat. 1 and 2 in the championship. In exactly the same predicament. It's pouring out there.
How wild is that through turn 5? Oh, big understeer then for Whincup, almost straight in the fence. Look at Mark Dutton and Roland Dane. This, you will never see this sort of stuff. This is the slipperiest part.
And 8 was hard enough. Turn 8 was hard enough. Now, the rain clearly at that end of the track is now a genuine problem. And it reaches a point where, forget about the fuel numbers, the car might not be driving.
Keeping an eye on it.
So the drivers are howling, but they're saying we're keeping an eye on it. We're keeping an eye on it, all right.
Number one priority for James Courtney and Jamie Whincup
A few more laps for fuel, mate, for fuel.
is to bring the car home at the end of the day. They cannot afford to put it into the wall and end their day without any points.
It's a classic problem here. The drivers just want to be on the most secure tyre. The engineers need the cars to get into the fuel window to fill them up with the fuel that gets them home. So it's a conflict.
Cautious through that area.
This end of the track you can deal with.
But Mark Dutton's saying cautious through that area, but the area's got bigger. Because it's now, it's
nearly 3.4 kilometres.
Well, it's basically from the end of this straight right around to Dawn Fraser Avenue on turn 9. So turn 2 to turn 9 is wet. There's Whincup.
Oh, he had a look. He had a look. That could have been diabolical. But I reckon that's probably just a mind game, a little tail flick. Another little tail flick. I reckon Whincup's trying to play mind games here with James Courtney.
This is the dangerous spot. Have a look at this.
He's just going as hard as he can. They're both going as hard as they can.
Look at that. A little touch of the throttle in 4th gear and just bursts into wheel spin.
Now
Oh, my God. I thought that was straight in the fence. That's 2 laps in a row.
There's residual heat in the slick tyres, but with every passing lap, that heat's disappearing. Oh, understeer at 8, understeer. He gets it through. But it's a seesaw battle. And both cars will phase differently. They'll both have trends and capabilities in them that vary a bit with the amount of wet. And here comes Whincup again at turn 9. This is a fight. An absolute arm wrestle for the 2010 V8 Supercar Championship.
Well, this could well and truly decide it.
Who wants it most?
Courtney's doing an amazing job to hold off the pressure. He's the first guy out there, the first guy to arrive at all those slippery spots on the circuit. He leads the race. And check this out, that last lap was 1 minute and 42. The fastest lap was 1 minute 29. That shows you the difference.
How much risk are you prepared to take? And that's the question inside both these helmets at the moment as they approach turn 2. They've both had their moments down here in this complex.
And where do you take the risk? Look at it. All of a sudden here, it's slippery. It looks ugly. They can see it. They can feel it. It's an ice skating rink around there. 1.5 tons of V8 supercar muscle trying to stay on this track. Now Whincup comes up alongside him and he rounds up the series leader. What a move.
And no one has passed there ever. No one has made a pass at turn 5. He got up the inside of Courtney.
And Lowndes on the radio, meanwhile, has told his guys that he reckons it's too dry for wets, that it'll hurt the wets on too much of the track. Doesn't look at... Oh, he's hit the wall! Courtney actually hit the wall!
Your pace relative to everyone else is really good, so head down. We'll keep an eye on it.
That was Scott Sinclair. Courtney hit the wall. Oh, no! He's gone! Whincup's gone down the road at turn 9.
We said it before, when you're the first car, you're the pioneer. Before he was able to gauge the conditions from Courtney.
Mate, no stress. It's all good. It's all good. Get back into the rhythm. Get back into the rhythm. No stress.
Cool heads need to prevail here.
We are young, we run free, stay up late, we don't sleep. Got our friends, got the night, we'll be all